Hello guys, what is up? It is Pokestocks here. Today we are joined with the special guest, Sam's Shiny Stocks, doing a interview about Phantasmal Flames. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yo, how's it going, guys? Yeah, uh, huge honor to be on the channel. Thank you for having me, Pokestocks.
Of course, of course. So what you guys are going to see me doing in the near future is just trying to collab with a lot of content creators to give you guys different content and most importantly, hear different perspectives by a lot of the tubers in the space. So I want to start off right away by going over Phantasmal Flames, and I want you to be honest. What would you rate the set from F to S tier?
Hmm. Honestly, I'd say it's like probably a mid tier if I'm being honest. I think it's got a really good artwork, but in terms of investability side of it, the poor rates definitely does weigh it down. The demand of the card will be ridiculous, but easy poor rates are easy poor rates. That's I think the set is good, but that's its weakness right there.
So would you give like a B or C tier? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I'd say about a B tier.
Okay. Personally, I think if I had to give Phantasmal Flames a ranking, I think I would give it maybe like a C plus or a B. I think the only thing, obviously, that's saving the set is the Charizard, but the only issue I have with it, and I think a lot of us can agree, right, is the depth because it goes from a $700 card to a $50 card, and I think Pokemon sort of messed up on that. Would you agree?
I think I would agree to a certain point. I think that it having the gold card definitely does help it because I think the gold card and the SIR they're pretty similar pricing last time I checked. So it does definitely help it. Comparing it to something like Obsidian Flames, while it's something good to compare it to, I think it is a little bit harsh because it does have that gold card, but nonetheless, it'll be very interesting to see the longevity of that gold card. But I think you're right. They definitely, you can clearly see that they wanted to focus on it being just a Charizard set and nothing else.
Definitely. Now, would you think that the SIR, the obviously the Charizard with all the Pokemon in, or do you think the Gold card? Which one do you think is going to do better long term, the Gold card or the SIR?
Honestly, that's a top tier question right there because one of them isn't nearly as popular, but it's way harder to pull
Right. Yeah.
versus the one that's popular but easy to pull. If we look at the past, we can clearly see that the more popular one is always more expensive. So, in the long term, so if you look at gold cards in Sword and Shield, I mean, there are some gold cards or even rainbow cards, like pulling like a Rainbow Umbreon from Evolving Skies, it's practically the same difficulty as just pulling the Umbreon VMAX. Yeah, it's like $50 when the Umbreon is like $2,000. So I do believe in the long term this set will be a-okay. This set will do extremely well long term, but for the first couple years, I do question how it'll do, considering how it doesn't have much depth.
Yeah, I could totally see where you're coming from, especially obviously going on with the fact of like the 2 years not doing so great. So, my next question to you, obviously leading on from what we were just talking about, what would you say? Is this an investment worthy set? Should you be sort of pouring a lot of money into this set, or would you wait in the near future for other different Mega Evolution sets to come out?
Look, honestly, that is a fantastic question. So, when you have such a good artwork, I feel like it's very hard to look away and ignore it. However, when you buy a set on release and you commit to holding it for many years with very little returns, the first couple of years, it has to be a good set. It has to be justified. Prismatic Evolutions, in my opinion, is justified. Destiny Rouse, in my opinion, is justified. I would not say a set like a mid tier set like Stellar Crown or anything where it's more mid tier. So when we look at Phantasmal Flames, it's a good set. However, I think it's one of those sets where you can just come back in 2 years' time, let it do all the aging. You can just come back and you'll be a okay. In my opinion, I don't see it like 151 UPCs. I don't see it like 151 ETBs where you have to buy now and secure your position.
Hmm.
I feel like you can just come back in a couple of years. In the long term, this card will kill it. In the long term, the pull rate isn't nearly as important as the demand for the card will usually outweigh it. But the first couple of years, it will most likely be a dead product. However, if people are happy to do that to secure that position, I would not say that's anything wrong with that. both strategies work, but for me personally, I'm just going to come back in 2 years' time. It doesn't justify waiting those 2 years. It doesn't have that level of quality, in my opinion.
Okay, so I see where you're coming from. Um, you know, going on with what you were saying about, the Charizard being the number one chase and everyone wanting to pull that in the near future and like that's going to be the top one. Do you think that this Charizard card is going to be like the best card from Mega Evolution in the whole era?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll have its place as a popular card, and I think it'll really shape up this era, and it'll be so iconic. Similar to our 151 Charizard, the pop is like 70,000 graded cards, but it's extremely iconic. We can all agree on that. The pop is incredibly high. It's not really the price; it's more of the culture. That's how I feel with this card, right? It's the culture behind it. So I don't see it being the most expensive card of the Mega era. Realistically, we don't know what else is going to come out. However, just looking at some cards like the Mega Gengar,
Hmm.
it being a holiday set, the Mega Gengar being in a holiday set, just naturally means that there's a good chance, because packs are more difficult to obtain, that honestly could rival the Charizard immediately. So the third set could rival this Charizard. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be a big expensive chase for a good while. I think it's more of going to be a culture and something that everybody owns, similar to a 151 Charizard. When that set came out, when 151 came out, almost everybody owned that 151 Charizard, whether you owned Japanese or whether you owned English. It was that kind of card where a lot of people all just mutually wanted it. And I could see the same thing happening with this Charizard, where it's just a card that will take a really long time to age. It'll do well, but I don't see it being like the Moonbryon of Mega Evolution,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Dude, I was thinking about this when we had Phantasmal Flames like leaked and teased. I thought we were gonna get that Gengar. If we would have got that Gengar and Phantasmal Flames, I do think it probably would be the best set or one of the best sets of 2025 or possibly the best set of Mega Evolution. Would you agree with that or no? If we got the Gengar SIR.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Not only I would agree with that, I think it would be almost like the next Prismatic in 151 where quote unquote everybody and their mum is holding it, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's holding Prismatic. Well, every Pokemon investor, it's something that a lot of people hold. I would see it doing a similar thing if it had the Gengar. However, I think it is extremely healthy for the market that we can just get a really loved card that is cheap. So I'm not too upset about it because, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy with Prismatic. I'm happy with Destined Rivals. It's nice to have a bit of a break, and you don't have to worry about investing in this set for a good
Okay.
while.
I see where you're coming from. You know, going on, we were just talking about like the Gengar and stuff. When I was doing my research on Phantasmal and even on today when I'm a TCG player, the Gengar in this set is only worth $2. It was just like a shocker. Like when I saw it on the booster box and everything, I got so excited, and then we knew for a fact it wouldn't be in this set. It's just like, man, it was missed opportunity. So my next question to you is, how would you say the long-term plays of Phantasmal Flames are going to be? Let's just say 3 to 5 years from today, where do you see booster boxes sort of worth? Maybe not exact price, but more so importantly, like, do you see these booster boxes growing a lot in value and the overall set for investability plays?
Okay, so unless we see some sort of Black Swan event where Pokemon decide to just straight up not reprint a certain item, like booster boxes or ETBs, if it's a relatively normal pace where they just reprint it to a moderate level, I think the booster boxes in 3 years, it won't really do a lot. The reason why I don't think it's going to do a lot is because it's already so expensive
Uh huh.
and it just doesn't justify it. Prismatic Evolutions, in my opinion, justifies it. The set value is ridiculous. The top chase is ridiculous. Destined Rivals justifies it. You look at Destined Rivals and it's a $380 booster box or however much it is, around that range.
Yeah.
Phantasmal Flames is $80 less, but it has nothing on Destined Rivals. It is not 25% worse, even though it's 25% less of a price. It's like 70% worse, in my opinion. So I do not see it being that much more in 3 years' time. Now, 5 years' time is a different story. I think 5 years' time, absolutely, it will do amazing. I think in 5 years' time, it'll have a nice, good couple years where even though it's a really high pop, it'll still continue to rise. But 5 years' time is a long time. I mean, you got to ask, what is the price of 151 displays then? What is the price of Paladin Face displays or prismatic evolutions? So, like, it can have a happy ending and it can do really well. But when you look around you and every other set is just doing serious numbers because they can justify going up more, it's already starting off super high up. So the longevity from here, it doesn't justify it versus other sets that, in my opinion, do justify it.
You know, I could sort of agree with you, right? Like with prismatic evolutions, like that set is very expensive with all the cards. So I could see her coming from the ETBs, and I guess going on with Phantasmal in the near future, I could sort of see that happening. If I had to put sort of a prediction on it, I do think that in 2026 we're most likely gonna have a massive reprint. I think like every other set we're gonna see that as well, but I do think that realistically speaking, Phantasmal Flames is going to be a set that's going to have a little bit of a hard time growing, just due to the fact that I believe in 2026 we're going to see like a lot of the hype continue to slowly fade away, and I think the set is going to be out a little bit more than what people think. Would you agree with that or not really?
I would 100% agree with that.
Cool.
Every single new set, we are seeing it be more and more available than the previous set.
Right.
So Journey Together just naturally piggybacked off of Prismatic, so that just naturally sold out. But then you had sets like Destin Rouse that still sold out. When we got to Black Bolt, the lines at stores it started to decrease. The
Yeah.
hype for it started to decrease. The views on YouTube for opening up videos started to decrease. Then when we got to Mega Evolutions, it was very hyped. Don't get me wrong. At least locally, I'm getting notifications every single day on stores that are getting Mega Evolution blisters.
Wow.
Like so many of my local stores have Mega Evolution blisters. Now they don't have enhanced booster boxes. They don't have enhanced booster boxes for $150 or
Uh huh.
whatever. But there's still product available here and there.
Mm.
Then when we get to Phantasmal Flames, at least locally, it was up on EB Games, which is the equivalent of your GameStop. It was up for like 2 weeks or a week. It was up for a while. Even the
Really?
UPCs. So yeah, I don't know if
Nice.
that's just an Australian thing or maybe we got a little bit of an increase of supply, but there is a lot more available, and I'm seeing a lot of people who scalped it attempting to try and make the same returns I saw from Prismatic that can't even make nearly that. So it will take less and less. It's less scalpable if the top chase is not as expensive. So what I think is going to happen is in 2026 we're going to see some reprints, but if the top chase at the same time decreases in value, you've got to think realistically what is it's not going to be worth scalping, so then scalpers are most likely going to leave it alone. So then it's going to be really available, not readily available where it's like $6 or like $4 on TCG Player, but it's going to be for a boost pack. But relatively, in my opinion, I think it's going to be the most available set
Yeah.
that we've seen from Prismatic onwards.
Definitely. So, say if you had like $1,000 to spend on Phantasmal Flames, how would you spend that? Would you wait a few months, possibly a year or a few years, or would you go heavily into it now? If I were to answer that question for myself, I personally think that I would wait a few months. I think that Phantasmal is going to drop a lot in value. I think we're going to see booster boxes probably go to a low point in the beginning of 2026, especially if we do get a reprint in the near future. But what would you say?
So yeah, I'm roughly on par with you. I would definitely wait. It's that kind of set where you've got to think, what is the upside potential, right? So you've got to think it's come out super hot, and what's more likely? You got three outcomes. It goes to $500. It goes to 250, $200, or it stagnates.
Mm-hmm.
Now, two of those scenarios are incredibly likely. It going down, first of all, it hasn't fully released yet. A lot of stores
Right,
haven't
right,
gotten
right.
their stock,
Definitely.
so there will be a second wave.
Yeah.
So the likelihood that every single day we go by, we're seeing the Charizard plummet more and more and more as more videos come out really revealing the pull rates with larger sample sizes. On top of that, more is entering supply. On top of that, a bunch of people who thought it was going to be the next Moonbryon are realizing it's not, and they're going to dump their bags. A lot of the buying power that allowed it to be a $300 booster box originally, that came from the promise that this is going to be the best thing after sliced bread. It is going to be the best set of Pokemon. It is the Charizard is going to break the internet. But every day that that promise gets crushed a bit, it's still fantastic artwork, but it gets crushed a bit. There's more and more selling pressure. So there's nothing wrong with buying it now if you want to just secure your position, but you need to be able to weather many, many years
Right.
of zero growth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that goes ahead and answers all my questions. I think we could agree on nearly everything. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or in the Discord below. Feel free to check out Sam's shiny stocks. Is that it? Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, same shiny socks.
Yep. Go ahead and check out his channel, which I will link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Would you like to say anything before we end this video off?
No, I think you've covered all. Thank you so much for having me on your channel.
Of course. All right. Adios.